My name is Erin Leschman. Today is Wednesday, April 6, 2022. The time is currently 10:36 a.m. in the morning. This interview is being virtually conducted and recorded. I am interviewing Bob Jacobs, who was born on February 2nd, 1924 in Minnesota. He served in World War II as a private first class in the Army and worked in anti-aircraft fire between the years of 1943 and 1945. This interview is sponsored by the Bell Tower Memorial. So, Mr. Jacobs, what were your plans for life before you entered the military?
I was in high school yet when I was drafted into the service. So I really hadn't made any plans because I knew I was going into the service. And so I had made no plans about going to college or going on. I got a job at a shoe company for a few months making Army shoes, and until I went into the service. So I was out of high school about 6 months when I went into the service. I was only 17 when I was drafted, so they had to wait until I was 18, and I was 18 in February of 43. So I went right into the service. So I had actually I made no other plans other than going into the service.
What were you feeling when you found out you were drafted?
What was I doing? I was in I was a senior in high school. In high school.
Oh, I'm sorry. I said, what were you feeling when you found out that you were drafted?
Well, I was anxious. All my friends were starting to go into the service, and I wanted to do my part. And so when I got drafted, I just waited until I got called to duty, and then I went into the service and joined all my other friends from high school that had already gone into the service. Some of them volunteered right out of graduation. But I waited until I was called.
Tell me about your early weeks of military training and how you adapted to military life.
Well, it was quite difficult because your time was not your own anymore. Your daily your day was programmed out for you. I mean, you got up in the morning, you went to roll call, you did your calisthenics, you had breakfast. Your whole day was laid out for you. You didn't have the freedom that you had to do what you wanted to do before you went into the service. So it was a big change. And as I say, your day was planned until after supper, when then you had a little free time for do what you wanted to do.
What tasks or roles were a part of serving in anti-aircraft?
What was that?
What were your tasks and roles when you were serving in anti-aircraft?
What was my role?
Yeah. Like, what did you do in anti-aircraft?
Well, I went into the service and was assigned to a 40 millimeter anti-aircraft unit, and located down in El Paso, Texas. And the base is the Air Force base called Fort Bliss, Texas. There's the Air Force there, and we did all of our training down there, practice shooting at targets and stuff like that. And I spent approximately a year down there before I was transferred to another unit.
Can you describe you served overseas. Can you describe the journey that it took to get you overseas?
Uh, well, what happened was that uh, I was transferred to a 90 millimeter anti-aircraft unit that was destined to go overseas, and they needed 2 people to fulfill their quota. And I was one of the 2 people that was transferred to this 506 anti-aircraft 90 millimeter unit. And from there, we immediately went over to Hawaii, where we spent a year in Hawaii for additional training, and until we got our orders for an invasion. And I was very fortunate to be one of the 2 people that was transferred, because the unit that I was in came back to Camp McCoy, Wisconsin, and did 30 days of infantry training, and were sent over to Europe for an invasion. And when I got out of the service, I happened to run into one of the fellows that was in my former unit, and he informed me that told me how lucky I was to be transferred, because 95% of the unit that I was in was killed. So I felt like a cat with 9 lives.
Yeah.
And so, as I say, I was fortunate. And we had this unit that I was transferred to. We spent a year in Honolulu doing different training and practice. I had to learn all over how to shoot a different kind of a gun. And occasionally they put me on a 50 millimeter machine gun turret for some more additional practice. So that was a lot different, and that was a lot more fun than shooting these big guns. And so we stayed in Hawaii until January of 1944, 45. And when we got orders to go to the invasion of Iwo Jima.
Can you describe your role in combat in Iwo Jima?
Well, our role in combat was to protect the airfields and the island that we were on from enemy aircraft. And if any did come over, well, we would shoot them down, and before they could bomb our airfields and airplanes and so on. And our job was to basically protect the airfields and the airplanes from being destroyed by enemy aircraft. The Japanese planes usually came over in the evening, and so they came out with a tracer bullet that you could follow the bullet up to your target. You could see it going all the way up, which was really unique, because you could tell whether you were on target or not. So that's how we got to shoot at the planes that came over. And yeah, that was, they had just come out, and it really helped.
Can you tell me about any friends you made overseas?
Well, I made some personal friends, and they had family and sisters and stuff, so we got to know the family, and I corresponded with some of the fellow sisters. But you made friends with everybody because you lived together, you ate together, you worked together, and you're a big team. And and I did have one friend from high school that joined the Marines, right out of high school. And he was stationed in Honolulu also at a Marine base. So, and he had been there about a year before I got there. So I got to visit with him quite often. And since he was there a year before I got there, he got to know a lot of the native people there and the families. So whenever there was a luau or anything or a big family doing, he would invite me. And it was really great to meet the Hawaiian people and their families, and everybody played music and dance, and it was always a great party, and it was something to take your mind off of the war for 2 hours, and so I enjoyed that very much.
Do you have any other fond memories from your time in service, whether that was training, serving in the war, or just anything else?
Well, there's not much that I can think of about the memories other than being friends and living together. You got some of the things that you had to get used to, like going to a community bathroom.
Yeah.
Where ordinarily, everything was private, but when you were in the service, nothing was private. So you got to know everybody, and you got used to doing the things that everybody was in the same boat, and everybody had to do the same thing, and yeah, you just got used to it. And the only time that you got to do something other than the daily routine is when they put you on KP duty or guard duty, and that changed your whole day at least for a day. And when the war was over, I volunteered for garbage duty. So what that meant is that every day that some of us fellows, a few other fellows and I would go around to all the bases and collect all the garbage. And once that was over with, we were free to do whatever we wanted for the rest of the day. You didn't have to pull KP duty or guard duty or anything else that was connected with the service. And while I was over on Iwo Jima, I met a fellow. He was a cook for the air base over there for the pilots. And he was from my hometown. And I got to meet him over there. And once in a while, he would invite me over for dinner. And the food was, the Air Force really ate good. Every once in a while, I got a real good meal, other than K rations or something. And so that worked out real fine. And after the service was over, he came back to my hometown, and then we got together quite often, and we knew a lot of stories and things. So that was fun. That was something that I remember quite a bit about after the war. Yeah. I have a picture here. If you can see it. This is This is a ship that I was on.
Okay.
It's called the LST. And what it is, the doors open up in the front where you can get all your equipment off. Like all of our guns and ammunition was stored down below. And then these doors open up, and then you can drive everything out. And you'll notice that there's a lot of steel grating on the shoreline. And the reason for that is Iwo Jima was nothing but ashes. It was ash from the volcano, and it was real soft. So if you didn't lay this metal mesh down on the shoreline, everything would have sunk into the ground. So, but this is a ship that we were on. That's the ship that lost its steering mechanism on the way over to Iwo Jima, and the top deck was loaded with gasoline drums and so on. And we were in the middle of the convoy for protection. And when the steering mechanism broke, the convoy kept going, and we ended up out in the Pacific Ocean, just drifting out there. So when we finally got it fixed, we called up to the convoy, but we were at the end of the convoy instead of the middle of the convoy. And what happened was, I don't know if the Japanese knew about our ship or not, but what happened is that the ship that took the place where we were supposed to be was bombed by the Japanese plane. So if it had been our ship, we probably would have been blown up with all the guns and ammunition and stuff. So we were, I mean, it was unfortunate what happened, but it ended up to be fortunate. So, so we were lucky on that. But also this ship, one day some Japanese kamikaze planes came and started to shoot at our ship. And we shot back at it, and we got the plane down just before it hit our ship. It went right into the water. So, but as I say, the Japanese pilots, they call them kamikaze planes because they had no fear of life, and their job was to bomb something or to fly into something and lose their life. I mean, they had no regard for life like American people did. So I thought maybe you'd like to see that.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. That was really interesting. So you were in the right place at the right time on that ship. Were there any other times like that during the war where you were in the right place at the right time where it could have saved your life?
Well, after we got the Iwo Jima and got to shore, why the Japanese still had some units up on Mount Suribachi, and they would shoot at us once in a while, but they really didn't do any damage. But other than the instances where that happened on the way over, why we never had any problems after that. As far as being shot at, except that one time when the plane came in and we shot it down before. That was shot down by a 50 millimeter, not a 50 machine gun. And other than that incident, we never had any more further problems. So you could say we were in the right place for the rest of the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You were present when the flag was raised on the island of Iwo Jima.
Yes.
What emotions were you feeling in that moment?
Oh, well, it's hard to describe because Iwo Jima, I read later that the Iwo Jima was the bloodiest battle ever fought by any United States service. And I had a lot of friends from back home that were in the Marines that were killed over there. And I went to visit the cemeteries and took pictures of the grave sites and brought them back and gave it to their parents. But the emotion for, I mean, it was very emotional to see the flag being run, but it was also sad about how costly it was to get that flag raised up there. And so even after the flag was raised, why there were still problems on the island with Japanese soldiers. But the Marines, I can't say enough about the Marines and what they've gone through. They really put their life on the line. I have a lot of things I could have brought them. There was one fellow, I don't know how he did it, but he made plastic, not plastic, but little figures of the island with the bouncer, bocce, and the flag on the top. They were like paperweights. And he had them painted and everything. I don't know how he did it, but the little molds of the island, and he gave them to everybody over there. So I have it's a good memento. I still have them on my desk. They're paperweights, and that's what I use them for. But my family, when they see them, it reminds them of me being over there.
Yeah. What do you consider to be your most important contribution during your time of service?
Well, my personal contribution, I was just a member of a group of people that like there were so many men that there had to be so many men to operate these big guns, and the shells were so big it took two people to load them into the gun. So I was one of the two people that loaded the guns, and just about all I contributed to. So I didn't shoot anybody, nobody shot me, and it was different than infantry or anything like that. It was just a matter of setting up our equipment around air bases and protecting the air bases. And I was just one member of a group of people that was doing the job that they were assigned to do. So, a personal contribution, they did nothing personal. It was just a team effort.
But it was still very important, and
Pardon?
like, it was still, everything you did was still very important for the war. And
Well, that's what they tell me, but I didn't feel as though I did that much. But individually, I didn't do that much, But everything was teamwork.
Yeah.
You made an awful lot of friends, and everybody depended on you, and you depended on them to do their job, and that's the way it worked out. I mean, it was just there was no hatred, there was no fighting, no arguing, and we just had, when we had free time, we had a good time, and we got together and talked about families mostly, and actually, after the war was over, there wasn't that much to do. I signed up for what they call the USAFI course. It was a correspondent course, and I took a corresponding course in accounting, bookkeeping, and so it was something for me to do, and I got so interested in it that when I got out of the service, I went to school. I went to business school, so that's what I did when I got out of the service.
So you did attend college then?
Pardon?
So you did attend college then?
You did what?
You went to college after
Yes,
the war?
I did, yeah.
Yes.
I went to business school, and then I took a course at UWM, and I took another business course at Marquette University. get a job in the county after I get out of school. Yeah.
Nice.
That's what I did for a living.
Now,
Ask me
I
to pay
was
the taxes because
I was told that you earned some medals for your
oh, how
service.
did you get that?
Would you be able to tell me about some of these?
Not really. Where's my book? I can tell you what they are. The- In my book. Yeah, where's my book? The white book that is brought. I got a list of what they are. Oh, okay. One of the medals is for a honorable service lapel medal for World War II. And one of the medals is Asiatic Pacific Campaign Medal. Then there was supposed to be American Campaign Medal. I don't know if I have that. There's a World War II Victory Medal, Good Conduct Medal. I behaved myself. And then there's a what do you call it? There's a star. Red. I can't remember the words.
See if she's got some other questions.
I can't think of what that is now.
That's all right. I have a few more questions for you. Were you able to keep in touch with your friends and family while you were in service?
Oh, yeah, you rode every day. You know, with the family especially, and as I say, a few of the my friends' families, like some of the fellows had sisters, and they wanted to get letters from service people, so I would write to them and correspond with them, and the best part of the day was mail call. You couldn't wait for a letter from home or a friend, and if you didn't, if a day went by where you didn't get anything, well, you felt kind of blue. But uh, you wrote a lot of letters and you received a lot of letters. In fact, I wrote a lot of letters to my sister. And when I got out of the service, she had a stack of letters about that thick that she kept, and she gave it to me, and I still have them at home. So all the letters that I wrote my sister, whenever I get a little blue or I want to do something, I'll give one of the letters out to see whatever I wrote to her. You know,
Oh, that's nice.
ask her about different friends that I had at home, what they were doing, and so on. And so she kept all those letters, and I still got them. That was nice.
What was it like to transition back to regular civilian life after coming back home from the war?
Coming back, well, I got out of the service in January, and of course, all the schools were in session, so I had to wait for what, June for school to start again, and classes, and so a lot of my friends from back home got out of the service about the same time that I did. So we would get together and talk about our times in the service. I had one friend that was in the Navy. I had one that was in the Air Force. And I had one that was in the Marines. And I was in the Army. And so we had a lot to talk about. So we kind of reminisced about what we all did and our experiences, and got together and played games, went bowling and things like that. There was much to do in the wintertime up here in Wisconsin. So when along came around April, and one of the friends that was in there, my friend that was in the Air Force, and I decided to go to school. And that's how we ended up in Milwaukee going to business school. And but we just kind of bummed around, and I ran into one fellow that was a bartender, a friend of mine that was in the service, and he was a bartender in one of the hotels downtown. So I made a mistake of going down there every morning and having a beer with him. So after about a month of that, I decided that's it. I'm not going to do that anymore. You know. So, well, I'm trying to catch up for not having any beer in the service.
Yeah.
Well, when I left Iwo Jima, they gave us. I left with 2 cans of warm beer, and then we had to stop at Saipan, where they took all of our clothes and all that stuff, and just enough stuff to get discharged. And I left Saipan with 2 cans of warm beer. But that was all the beer that we got. If we got any beer over in Iwo Jima, well, we would bury it in the ash to get it cold. And there was no refrigerators or anything. And the water had so much iodine in it, you couldn't drink it. Yeah.
Yeah.
There was no beer or soda. So, and I didn't drink coffee. So I was out of luck when they come to something to drink. They still don't drink coffee to this day.
When you attended business school, do you know if your education was sponsored by the GI Bill?
Yes, it was. They paid it, and they paid for the course. I went to school under the GI Bill. And then after I graduated from business school, I got a job. And what the government paid so much, I mean, it was good for the employees because the government paid for so much of my salary. In other words, say I got 90 cents an hour, the government would pay maybe 80 cents or 75 cents, and the company only had paid 25 cents of my salary. So it was a good deal between the employer, and employee, and the government. You know, so it was nice. It was a good deal for everybody all the way around. And I forget how long that lasted, because I was working for this company for 3 months. They made me the payroll clerk. And I was working for the company for 3 months. And after 3 months, the office manager gave me a 5-cent an hour raise. Now, I don't know if the government was still paying for part of my salary or not. I don't know. I have no idea when I quit. But whenever I went to school, going to UWM or Marquette, I never had to pay anything. So the government still made the payments for my schooling. So that's one of the good benefits that the government gave the veteran when he got out of the service. So.
How did the people in your life support you when you came home?
Oh, boy. Well, to me, when I got out of the service, things kind of got back to normal. I know when I got out of the service anyway, my mother had kept up the Christmas tree for me to enjoy when I got
That's nice.
uh, and uh, we just, as I say, we just got together and enjoyed one another's company. Everybody went through the same thing, and we just enjoyed one another and supported one another and had a lot of fun and reminisced about our life in the service and things almost got back to normal. Everybody either went to school or went back to work. I was offered a job when I got out to work for a shoe company, and I didn't want to go there because I had an uncle that worked for the shoe company, and you never made any money, and you lived by hand and mouth. And then somebody offered me a job roofing, and I was afraid of heights, so I didn't feel like going up on roofs and laying shingles and stuff and falling off the roof. So I decided to go to school, and that's how I ended up in school. And I like to work with figures, and that's what I did until I retired. And, but as I say, after we got out of the service, I lost a lot of friends in the service, and but the friends that that came home when I did, we just supported supported one another and had a lot of fun. We played games. We went fishing and my parents owned a place on the lake, so we'd go out there and do some fishing and we went bowling and we went ice skating. One of our friends and I, we built a ice boat. So we went ice boating on the lake in the winter time and did a lot of ice skating and well, we just did everything like we did before we went into the service. I mean, we just got back into our old routines and just enjoyed one another's company. Everybody got along. We never had any fights or any arguments. We would play football, and we had a group of guys that formed a softball team. We played other teams in the city, and we played horseshoe. I got a lot of blue ribbons for horseshoe. I was a good horseshoe player, yeah, and so I got a lot of blue ribbons from playing horseshoe, and but those are the kind of things. I mean, we just didn't chase around and get into trouble or anything like that. We just had a lot of fun, and we had an ongoing Monopoly game. This was before the service. You're talking about after the service, yeah. But we just tried to get back to normal things that we did prior to going into the service. So, and we're just glad to see a lot of my friends come back home, and they came back home in good shape, and nobody was shot up or anything like that. But I say the fellow that was in the Navy, he got a kick out. He was in the Navy for 3 years, And one day we went out to my parents' cottage and we put them in a rowboat and shoved them out into the lake. And we had to go out and get them. You didn't know how to row back. As you're in the Navy for 3 years, you know how to row a boat. Oh, we just had a lot of fun.
Yeah. What were some life lessons you learned from your service in the military?
Well, what I have learned is to be nice to people no matter what their problem is. There are a lot of people, they have problems, and someday maybe I'll have problems and I want to be treated like I'm trying to treat people now. And I want to be friends with everybody. I want to get along with everybody. And I just enjoy people, and I like to just do things with them. I like to play cards and I like to play games. And right now I'm trying to teach people at the care center how to play cards and play different games. And it's hard because a lot of them aren't capable of doing it. So you work with them and you try to train them and show them how. And I just like to try to be nice to people because I want them to be nice to me. And so you have some people that give you a bad time and I just let it go over my shoulders and forget about it. And I do what I can to help people. I'm fortunate to be in the condition that I am in, that I don't need a lot of help. And so I don't mind pushing people around in a wheelchair or sitting and talking with them and helping them in any way I can. And that's what I'm doing at the care center. And the care, they're having problems just like everybody else, being short of help. So being there for 3 years, when they call on me for a lot of help because exercise classes, the young people coming in have to learn how to give them, and so they depend on me to show them what the exercises are. So I mean, I'm glad to help out.
Yeah.
I enjoy being around the people, and I do what I can. I mean, that's the way I was taught when I grew up. I did a lot of babysitting for my sisters and brothers, and my parents taught me how to be nice to people and respect people, and I'm trying to carry that on. So, and
That's really admirable.
to do the same thing.
Thank you for sharing all of that with me. I think this just about wraps up all of the questions I have for you. So in closing, this
questions, and I hope I gave you enough information to it didn't bore you.
Oh no, definitely. It was really interesting hearing from you. Thank you for everything you were able to share with me.
I was no hero or anything, and I didn't do anything special. I just did routine work. I didn't shoot anybody, and I didn't get any Purple Hearts or anything, but I'd rather be without the Purple Heart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, then in closing, this has been an interview of Bob Jacobs regarding his service during World War II. My name is Erin Leschman. The time is currently 11:21 a.m. Thank you for listening to this interview and thank you for your service.
It was my pleasure. I hope I've been able to help you a little bit. Okay.
Definitely.
Good day and a good life.
You as well.
Thank you.